Welcome back. I'm Bart and Jennifer Mills back with us today. They're doing double duty. Two series that they've been watching. First, Rogue Heroes on Epix. Bart, you were saying that this is kind of, it's based on a true story, and it's one of those things that when your dad was telling you about, you know, these books when he read when he was a kid, this comes straight from one of those, right?
Yeah, this is that whole, a genre of what I call dad literature, which is, dads like to read books about war and heroes and history. And so this is great. Ben McIntyre wrote the original book. It was a really good hit a few years back. And then this series, which was the most expensive series ever created by the BBC, came out at the end of the year last year, and it just kind of flew under the radar. It's on Epix here in the U.S. You can find a lot of it in other places as well, but it's based on the creation of the Special Forces unit in Britain during World War II when they were fighting in Africa. And it's just one of those shows that there's only five episodes, so it's really easy to keep up with. They've already okayed a season 2, so you know you're going to get some completion out of it. The stars, it's Connor Swindells, Jack O'Connell, and Alfie Allen, which are basically 3 that guys from Great Britain. So you may have seen them in other stuff. Certainly, I think everybody's been in Game of Thrones if you're watching British TV.
That's true.
It's just really well acted. There are some amazing musical needle drops. The creator is Stephen Knight, and he's the guy who did Peaky Blinders. So if you liked Peaky Blinders, if you like that sort of high energy British TV, this is a good show for you.
Jennifer, one of the taglines says it's Dirty Dozen meets Indiana Jones, so that's a lot of machismo. Are you joining Bart in watching this?
Totally with that tagline. And just to add, this is not just for men. I absolutely loved this show. It's so much action, the drama, you get really invested in these characters, and it's just really good.
Yeah, a friend of mine, I want to see if you guys get this reference. I'm going to be very impressed if you do. A friend of mine says it's Tales of the Gold Monkey on steroids. Do you get it? I was like, that's a great reference right there.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of similarities to sort of throwback.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of Indiana Jones, but it's all true stories. I mean, and that's the more amazing parts are the ones that are actually true. And it's kind of, actually, to be honest with you, while they're complex characters, they're not complicated men. So it's kind of fun to watch TV where it's war and the enemy were Nazis. So there's not a lot of moral crisis in terms of the way we behave. Nazis bad, these guys good. Pretty simple.
Yeah. Jennifer, lay out the plot for the English. It's a different time period, 1890, but what's going on there?
So, one of the reasons that I think the English may have passed under people's radar is if you're not into Westerns, maybe. And a lot of things came out at the same time. So Emily Blunt plays Lady Cornelia Locke, and it is set in the 1890s in the American West. She is a woman bent on revenge against the death of her son. And she comes over from Britain, ends up in Kansas. All kinds of things immediately start happening to her, bad things. I mean, there's some feel-good moments, but there's a lot of violence. It's rough. But she meets up with a former Indian scout for the U.S. Cavalry named Eli Whip, and he ends up helping her get across the state of Kansas in order to seek revenge against the man who was responsible for the death of her son.
Bart, you mentioned in the last series we talked about that there's not a lot of gray area as far as good and bad. Is it the same with this one?
Well, it is a little more complex in this because in this world we have Native Americans who are also fighting for the cavalry. So he is sort of banished by his own people to a degree. There's a lot of judgment both ways in this, and it is a complex issue, but it still lets itself. This is there's a lot more to read into on this one than there is Rogue Heroes, but still it lets itself have a good time. It's more of a relationship. There's enough action to keep you engaged, but it really is the story of 2 people building relationship over troubling times.
Those sound like great series. Thank you guys for telling us about it. I'd never heard of either one of them, and I think a lot of people, as you mentioned, are probably in that same boat, so thanks for telling us about it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give up on the Saved by the Bell reruns and try to watch something else, Jeff. Come on, man.
Well, there's all the Gilmore Girls. That's out there as well, so I'll make some time for this. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah, nice chatting with you. We'll be back right after this.